Hello, hello, and welcome. Please tell us where you're tuning in from. What city, what country is everyone tuning in from today? If you can comment in the comments section below, tell us where you're tuning in from. Ukraine, it's awesome. Abuja in the house. That's good. Abuja, Nigeria, Ukraine. Where's everybody else tuning in from? China. That's good. I think this is the first time I have someone from China. Nigeria, welcome. Germany, that's good. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We'll start in about a minute. If you can tell us where you're tuning in from today. UAE, it's good. Welcome. Canada, Ontario, it's good. Awesome. All right. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Bester Godfrey, Canadian Immigration Specialist at Tofino Immigration Consulting. At Tofino Immigration, we help make Canada your new home. Now, today we're going to talk about dating, love life in Canada. Canada and your love life. And I know people are going to think, love, Canada, what's love got to do with it? Well, good question. Now, part of the reason why we started the Canada Immigration Cafe series is so that you can know better. Because when you know better, you do better when you arrive in Canada because information is really currency. So, today we're going to talk about love. We want you to have a balanced life when you immigrate to Canada because love is part of having a balanced life. You can't just come here and just focus on your career all of the years that you're in Canada. At some point, it's important to be loved and also to be able to love. So we're going to talk about the dating scene in Canada and what some of the differences are between Canada and your home country. So today we have a special guest, Okpe, the dating coach. She's going to help us demystify some of the differences between dating in your home country and dating in Canada. So invite a friend, invite a neighbor, and I hope you have a good time. I'm going to go get our guests, but in the meantime, please tell us where you're tuning in from in the comments section below. Thank you. Hello.
Hi,
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I am good. It is a beautiful, at least here, a
Yeah.
beautiful Saturday. And after this, I'm going to go take a long, long walk.
That's good. Are you calling from Ontario?
Yes, yes, I'm in Ontario.
That's good. Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about the dating the dating scene in Canada because it might be different for different people depending on their home country, right? Because some people come
Hmm.
here and you're shocked about what the landscape here for relationship is like. So I thought it would be important to talk about this today, and you're a dating coach, so it was
Yeah, this
thank you
is
for
what
taking
I
it.
do.
Thank you for taking the time to join us and talk about this. So let's get right to it and uh, and have the conversation. So I have my first question for you is I was on your I was on your Instagram and you were talking about intentional dating. This is like the MO, intentional dating, intentional dating, intentional dating. So I wanted to know what the difference is between intentional dating versus just the regular dating. What's the difference there?
It's pretty simple. Intentional dating is just dating with a plan for your dating life. So I think everyone has a casual dating phase where, you're just kind of seeing what comes along, you're having fun, whatever happens, happens. And that may end up leading to marriage for some people. But people tend to find that at a certain point, they have to kind of pause and realize that, what they've been doing hasn't been working. Maybe they've had marriage on their mind in the background, but it hasn't just happened. So they're like, okay, what do I need to do now to get me from where I am to where I want to be, which is in most cases marriage or some sort of long-term commitment. And
Okay.
that's when you have to get intentional, especially if you're in Canada, where dating is not I don't know how to put it. I don't want to say maybe not a priority, but not as big of a priority as maybe back home where some of us came from, right? Back home at a certain age, people are like, okay, where's your husband? What's happening? I have a friend's son. I have a brother. People are making it known that they think you should move towards marriage. But here, you can get caught up in your career and doing all these kind of things and look up and be like, wow, I didn't think I wouldn't be married by now. So that's why you have to kind of get intentional with it.
Awesome, awesome. So, what are some of the major differences then between, in your opinion, between dating in Canada versus dating in some other countries?
Okay, I can speak from my Nigerian experience, which I think a
Okay.
lot of people will relate to. The biggest is the cultural difference, right? A lot of people say, and a lot of my clients are like new immigrants, and their problem is like, I'm not meeting anyone, no one is talking to me, what's wrong with me? And they're used to, especially the women, they're used to, men kind of pursuing them aggressively, anywhere. They're like, even when I go grocery shopping, I have a guy trying to talk to me on the street. I have a guy trying to talk to me here. I'll be at a party, looking awesome, and no one makes the move. No one says hi to me. And that's the biggest thing is there's a cultural difference. There, if a guy runs after you down the street, he might get your number. Here, if he runs after you down the street, he might get arrested. So there's, it's just not part of the culture to be that aggressive. Even at work, you find the differences in the workplace. You can't just put your hands on somebody, you can't be too loud. So there are things that are different about us, the way we do things back home and here. So letting them know that it's not them, it's not that anything's wrong with them, it's just that their environment has changed. People can't do certain things that they're used to, so women have to kind of learn to step up a little bit,
Right.
let someone know like, hey, I'm interested. If you were to talk to me, it would have a positive outcome instead of just waiting, the very passive way of dating and waiting for whoever comes to you. That's the one of the biggest changes, is that the culture is just different. It is just not normal to, hunt someone down, or if they keep saying no, continue to try to get them. After a while, it's called creepy. It's weird. No one wants that. And then another big difference is just like I said, the community and the focus on marriage back home versus here. Here, a lot of people come and they're either alone or they have a few friends. They're not with their family. Family is usually back home. And that is one of the biggest advantages. Back home, families like, what's going on with your love life? I haven't seen any man come to visit you. Why are you not, they make it a priority. And you're going to weddings, you're hanging out with friends, you're constantly meeting people that are potential partners. Here, not so much. You're kind of, especially if you're alone or you have a few friends that don't live too close to you, you wake up, you go to work, you come back home, you watch Netflix, you go to sleep. That's your usual. Maybe once every couple of weeks, you'll go to like some sort of social activity. But it's really not as, you don't have as many opportunities to meet people as you do back home. So that's another thing I tell people. You have to work on building your community here and give yourself opportunities to meet people that that you might have had back home.
Awesome, awesome. So, here's a scenario for you. If you're dating somebody for a while, dating them for a long time, they tell you they're not ready for marriage or they're not ready for commitment, and then the relationship ends, and boom, all of a sudden they get married. What happened there?
In most cases, you guys were just wasting each other's time. So that's why in intentional dating, I'm really big on commitment does not happen until after assessment. You assess somebody to see if they are the kind of person you want. And then if they are, if you both see what you're looking for, then you commit and you work towards marriage. As opposed to the way people do things now, and they meet and they think they're interesting. They commit to each other by saying, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. And they kind of cut everyone else out and they focus on each other. They date for 6 months, a year, longer, while they're assessing each other. And they're like, hey, you're actually not what I'm looking for. Then they break up and they start it all over again. I'm not a fan of that at all. I think you should keep your options open, keep dating. And when I say dating, I just mean getting to know different people, right? So keep dating, keep your options open. When you see what you want, then you can close yourself off from the rest of the market and move towards marriage. Because I think happens so often, and no one is to blame there, because you don't want to marry someone that you don't see the qualities that you're looking for in them, right? So when you see those qualities, it usually happens pretty quickly. You're usually like, okay, I see it, let's move towards marriage, versus years and years of you trying to see something. So that's why I say, until he tells you he sees that in you and you see that in the person, you guys are nothing. Boyfriend and girlfriend is made up.
Right.
It gives you a false sense of hope that this person is mine, and really they're not. All they're saying is, I'm getting to know you.
Okay, that's good. So now we've heard this phrase before. I'm sure you've heard it, and lots of people have heard it as well. Men are scum, men are trash. And in my opinion, a lot of people say this because of the frustration of not meeting quality men. And what's going on here? Why can't girls meet quality men? Why are men not meeting quality girls? Because I know a lot of quality people, but in the dating market, people are saying they can't find any quality person. So what's really going on here?
It happens both ways too. If you sit down with a group of guys, they'll be like, man, women nowadays aren't what they used to be. Women aren't, it's hard to find a good woman. And I'm like, what? I can line up all my friends here. They're awesome. Right. Women. So I think the mismatch is just in people not taking time to find what is for them. Quality for everyone is completely different, right? Like my husband might not be someone else's cup of tea, but for me, he is perfect. He is amazing, right? So I think that's why people are spending too much time with the wrong people, because again, that assessment is not happening up front. By the time you're saying, this is my boyfriend, all you know about them is that they're cute. They kind of have, maybe some people are looking for financial stability. They're like, okay, he's financially doing okay. He's cute. He's from where I'm from. People tend to put a lot of value on that. That's all you know about them at that point. Yeah. And then you spend a year with them and, something like what you said happens. You break up, he goes and he marries someone else in the next 3 months. Then you're like, men are trash. Like, he didn't actually do anything wrong in that case, right? You just gave too much of yourself to the wrong person. So I say, instead of saying men are trash, there's trash women, there's trash men. It's all about who you allow into your life, right? Once you spot the signs of trash, once you see, and it's not exactly trash, it's just that they're not for you.
It's not a cup of tea.
They're not your cup of tea, or they're looking for something different, right? Yeah. If you're looking for a relationship, the man who's looking for a casual, good time will look like trash to you, but he's doing what's working for him in this moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's up to you to say, casual is not what I'm looking for. No, thank you. Versus, dragging it on and allowing yourself to think that things will change, or that, when he spends enough time with me, he's going to want a relationship, and then he doesn't, and you're like, men are trash. Not really.
Right. And one man's trash really is another person's treasure. So it's that saying is still true here. Okay. So people say how the nature of a man is, men are hunters, meaning they shoot your shot. They go for the chase. Now, is it okay for a woman to shoot her shot?
150%.
I am
all for shooting shots, because if you don't shoot your shot, men actually have the advantage right now, because they see what they want and they go after it by shooting their shot, right? But women have to wait for someone to approach them, and then they filter out of those people for what they want, right? So you can increase your chances of getting what you want if you just go after what you want as well. And I think people get the wrong idea when you say shoot your shot. You're not saying like, go ask this man to marry you, go tell him you want to be in a relationship. It's literally just saying, hey, you seem interesting, let's get to know each other. Obviously not those words, but it's just letting him know. And I do believe that men are hunters. So I think if you open the door, if he's interested, he will walk in, right? So shooting your shot is literally just opening the door, especially in this day and age. And like I said, in the culture here, men are scared to aggressively chase. If they don't even know that you're into them, depending on where it is, if you meet them at a networking event, they're not going to start, hitting on you because it's not appropriate. But if you let them know, like, hey, let's talk, I find you interesting, here's my Instagram, and he's like, oh, she's interested, then he will go ham and make the connection from there. So I think 150% shoot your shot, because you're limiting yourself by not shooting your shot. I shot my shot at my husband.
And it worked out, obviously.
And it worked out great.
Yeah, I think the idea then is not to chase them down and hunt them down. It's just showing them you're interested and letting them take the initiative to approach you that way.
Yep. And if you're not, I think women, the women that do shoot their shot, they're not clear. They wink, not even wink, they stare, or they say hi, or they like 5 pictures in a row and they're like, whoo, I've shot my shot. It's up to him at this point, and he's like, okay, like someone liked 5 of my pictures, cool, right? So I think with shooting your shot, you have to be clear that, it's I'm interested in you, not as a friend, like you seem like someone I would like to get to know, right? So that clarity more than hello is really important. But once you've done that, any man that is interested will pick it up from there.
Yeah, but some women say over their dead body they would never do that because it's against nature for a woman to show a man that you're that interested. What do you have to say to those people?
I think that's very old school. And like I said, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the women that are bold enough to shoot their shot are out there getting the men that you want, right? So you can either sit passively and hope that the men that you want. The thing is, in our culture, especially here, I'm saying in Canada, you have to be noticed, right? You have to do something. Life is moving so fast. If you meet someone on the bus, they're maybe looking down, they're busy. Everyone's not always constantly on the hunt for, a partner. So if you see someone that you want, whether, like I said, in a networking event, on the bus, whatever, you have to say something. Otherwise, they're just going to pass you by in the very hectic, hustle and bustle of the day. So if you don't make that move, you're actually limiting your options to like this instead, when it could be like, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So when I first immigrated to Canada, I lived in a little town called Vernon, British Columbia. So it's, I think it's one of the most beautiful parts of Canada anyhow, but we were like the few Black people in the community. Now, we didn't have any problems dating, of course, but I've spoken to lots of people, and especially women, and they say how they want to move from a smaller community to Toronto. Everybody wants to move to Toronto. So they want to move to Toronto because they can find more Black people there. They can find more quality men there. So my question is it possible to date out of our race? Should we be dating out of our race? Like, can I date a white person, for example? Can a Black girl date a white guy? Is it something that we should start exploring, an option we should start exploring, or what's really going on?
This is very controversial, because when my clients come to me, they're like, listen, he has to be a Black man, and not only a Black man, he has to be Nigerian, from this village. I'm like, where are you gonna find this man? Go back to that village then, if that's what you're looking for, right? So I think when you come here, you do have to be more open-minded, because you're no longer in that home country where 99% of the people look and talk like this. You're in a completely different country, a melting pot, right? So I think you have to be open and at least experience it. right? If you date a few, I think you can't just come in with the preconceived notion that I can never ever date a white person. I can never ever date, an Indian person or whatever, because that's who you're going to be interacting with day in, day out, right? So I say give it a shot. At least go on a few dates. When you come here, at least at the very beginning, you don't know what you like, you don't know what you don't like. You probably have some things you've learned about from the movies about how these people operate. Whereas if you sit down one-on-one and have a coffee with them, it might be a different experience. So I say be open to it. Go on dates, see how you like it, hang out in groups, go on, big group dates, friendships, whatever. And if you're really like, at that point, if you say you can't date anyone outside of your race, I want you to really consider why, right? What really is missing? Do they have two heads? Is it that, what did you not connect with about them? If you have a good solid why, then, by all means, keep chasing your, person from where you're from. But I think at least be open to it.
Okay. So when you talk to different people and they tell you they want a person from a certain culture, they want six-pack abs, or the guys have different idea of what they want as well. And most of the time it's about the looks, really. So can looks alone, I know looks can get you a relationship, but can looks keep you in a relationship?
Definitely not. Definitely not. One thing is that looks fade quicker than you think, actually. And just that novelty fades. You see this beautiful woman. When you look at that woman every day for 50 years, it's not going to be as wow amazing as the very first day that you saw her, right? And another thing is that life is so much more than looks, right? So when my clients tell me they want XYZ blah blah blah, two things I tell them to think about: what they are looking for with that specific thing. Like with height, if they say he has to be 6'4", I'm like, why does he have to be 6'4"? What are you looking for in that 6'4"? And oftentimes there's something behind that, right? It's the movies have taught us that taller men are more masculine, can be more protective, and things like that. And I'm like, okay, is there any way that you can feel protected by someone that is not 6'4", right? So there's a lot of just like really digging deep into what is the why behind that thing. Sometimes for people, it's just cultural. They've been told women with these kind of hips are better for children or something like that. And I'm like, is that really true? Like, is that so? Just like demystifying the things behind that physical thing that you really want. And then the second part is just thinking about life, right? I always tell them, let's go through the story of your life. You get married, maybe in a few years, and I deal with women, so a lot of the times my examples are with women, but in a few years, a couple years, you're pregnant. What kind of person do you want beside you while you're pregnant and going through this like tough, maybe horrible time? What type of person do you want beside you in labor? What type of person do you want to be an example to your children, right? So those are the things you should be thinking about when you're dating, not necessarily the looks that, might or might not fade, right? And if this person got into an accident 2 years after you got married and something happened to their looks, would you leave them? I hope the answer is no. So that should show you that it's really about the person behind, and not character. Like I said, the hierarchy for me is character, personality, and then others, which includes looks.
Pretty good. So life in Canada, as you know, is very busy. People working 40 hours a week. They're on the SkyTrain, they're on the train, driving back and forth, always busy. And during the weekend, they just want to rest and start work the next week. So we've talked about people saying they're not able to find quality people, quality men, quality women. People are saying Tinder and all these dating apps are trash. So where do we find these quality people?
I don't think there's a secret place where all the quality people are hiding. I think it's just about, like I said, with getting intentional, you increase your chances of meeting quality the more you put yourself out there and the more you increase your community. So like I said, it's hard at first because you really, like you said, on the weekend, you just want to relax and rest. And if you do some kind of activity, it's usually with a group of friends that you've known forever. They come over and you guys do something, or you guys go to a spot that you always go to and you hang out with each other and then you go home, right? So being intentional about, even when you go to those places with friends, looking around, talking to new people, interacting with new people, right? Making sure that you're constantly opening yourself up to new experiences, new people. Like I said, go out with your coworkers. You know, they would likely go to places that you normally don't go. But I think switching up your routine just even a little bit is the first part of, and like I said, your mundane activities, when you're dating intentionally, they turn into potential, you know, dating activities. If you're going grocery shopping, you make sure you're not in sweatpants and a hoodie all covered up. You know, I don't say full makeup or anything, but just like look presentable. And at the grocery store, you're not, you know, head down in your phone texting the whole time. You're looking around, you're smiling at people, men and women, because women are also part of your community that could introduce you to someone, you know, interesting. So I say the easiest thing to do to start meeting quality people is just opening yourself up in the places you already go to. Like I said, if you're on the train or you're on the bus, a lot of us are sleeping or on our phones or reading a book or something, and you don't even know. Like the most perfect, amazing person could walk by and sit beside you. You might not even look to see them. You know, you're so engrossed in what you're doing. So opening yourself up in what you're doing, what you're already doing, and switching up your routines. You know, the places you go, it can't be Netflix and chill every night. You have to make your dating life a priority, right? So you can make a goal, one night a week, me and a friend are gonna try a new, you know, whatever it is, a new lounge, a new networking event. A big thing is going where your interests are. So if you're interested in real estate, you know, you can go to a real estate meetup group, or, you know, any networking group that revolves around real estate. So you're learning, you're gaining information, but you're also opening yourself up to other people who have those interests. So again, like I said, there's no secret spot where all the good people are. It's just about who you're showing up as, all the time to meet these people.
Pretty good. That's interesting. So while we're waiting for Mr. or Mrs. Right, right, the person that's right for us, what should we be? Should we be single during that time, just waiting, or should we still be going on a few different dates? Like, what's the situation there? Some people say, "Well, I'm technically single until I'm married, so I'm going to keep going on different dates." Or should we just really free up our time so we can soul search or whatever people are into? What's the key here?
I think you start with self-development. If you're single and there's no, you know, Mr. Right in sight, I think that's the perfect time to work on yourself. And that's kind of why people come to me first. They're like, okay, I'm in this place, I've had bad dating experiences, I want to do better, I don't know where to start. And we just work on themselves, who they are as a whole, not even just in terms of relationship, but, you know, but relationship wise, we get clear on what we're looking for, right? This is the time. It's not when you're dating intentionally that you start saying, oh, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Before you start dating, you should be very clear on what you're looking for, the character, you know, traits that you're looking for, the kind of person that fits your life. And you should be clear on yourself. Like, what are your own life goals? In 5 years, where do you see yourself, right? Because if you're dating, you should be able to communicate that to someone and say, you know, I see myself, you know, as a nomad traveling from country to country. And then it'll be very clear if they're like, I don't ever see myself traveling from this city, right? So getting to know yourself and communicating these things to other people, I think that should be the priority first while you're single. And if you've done that, if you've, you know, gotten the clarity, you've done the self-work, then yeah, start dating, because there's no Mr. Right until you actually start meeting someone. Mr. Right is not going to come knock on your door, you know, while you're on your couch watching Netflix. I always go back to Netflix because that was me for years. I was just like on my couch, Netflix and chilling. I'm like, why am I not meeting anyone? I'm like, where am I actually supposed to meet them? Like, it's either in the elevator on the way to work, or, you know, or on the way back. So dating constantly, freely, and I call this you're just fact finding. You're gathering data. You're seeing what's out there,
It's
and then you can
research.
assess. It's research. That's it, right?
Good.
Until you find the person that you're like, okay, this is coming together.
Pretty good. Pretty good. So now, in different cultures, marriage is super important, right? And this is almost like the end goal, really. And sometimes it ties to your self worth. If you're not married at this age, you're like, where's your husband, for example, or where's your wife? What's going on? So my question to you is, honestly, do we all have to get married?
No, not everyone is going to get married.
Okay.
That's just the truth. Some people want it and they won't get it. Some people don't want it and they won't get it. But that's just the reality of things, is that not everyone is going to get married. And now with the way things are trending, people are more likely to get married later in life. So I've been to a lot more weddings where the women are 40, 50, 60, finding love for the first time, right? So I think everyone has to do a serious self-assessment, because it's not for everybody. That's the truth. Marriage is not for everybody. You have to be ready to be, you know, interdependent. Like, you and this person have to be ready to join your lives and live as a partnership. If that is not you, if you know, there's some people that like have always hated group projects, like to plan their lives on their own, don't want to, they like the occasional like mingling with people, but they are really solo creatures. Don't force yourself into a marriage because you feel like that's the ultimate, that's what you should have. I think our culture, especially where I'm from, conditions you to think that it's marriage or nothing. I don't believe that at all. A lot of people have beautiful, healthy relationships, long-term relationships. Sometimes people are like, I just want to be with someone, you know, and have them kind of be my sounding board and my partner, but not marriage. And some of those have lasted longer than some marriages that I've seen. So I think marriage shouldn't be and this might be controversial, but marriage shouldn't be the ultimate goal anymore. That is not, it is not built for everyone. And if you try to force yourself into it when you're not, that's where problems come.
So for those people that starts to affect after a while, starts to affect your self worth, and they start feeling like they're not enough. What's really going on? What do you have to say to those people to help them manage this phase?
I say a bad marriage is comparable to hell, right? So it's better to be alone and happy. And if you're not happy alone, you won't be happy in a relationship there. So while you're alone, I say build your dream life. What are those things that you think a partner will add to your life? Is it traveling? Go travel by yourself right now. You know, is it certain businesses you think you want to build? Start building those businesses, right? Like, start building that dream life, that if someone comes along, they are just an addition to that life. They're not your whole life, right? So I think you can find so much happiness by yourself in your life. And then you're like, okay, if someone comes along, I'm good. If someone does not come along, I'm good. And that attitude actually tends to be more fruitful during your dating season, right? If you're like, I'm just desperate for someone, I just want someone to come complete me, and that's when you end up in the wrong thing. Or that's when, you know, people can feel that energy, that desperate energy, when you get close to them, and they're more likely to manipulate you, versus you saying, listen, my life is awesome, I have a beautiful apartment, I have amazing friends, I travel, I work this, I own a business. Like, if you're coming to me, if you're coming into my life, you need to be offering something amazing for me to want to give this up. I think every man and woman should be in that place before they get married. And if it doesn't happen, your life is so awesome that you're like, oh, you look up and you're like, oh, I didn't even notice that, you know, I'm having so much fun. So surround yourself with people that can give you, you know, what you seek from a partnership. Have a business bestie, have, you know, a travel buddy, have all these things that you know, that you desire from a partner. And then if it doesn't come, you've built your life, you know, to give you all those things anyways.
Awesome. But I almost feel like like aging, like the older you get, the more pressure to settle. Can you speak a little bit about that? Does this age affect our decision to when we select a partner at any point?
I think the pressure continues to increase for sure. I've seen it. But for some people, that pressure starts when they're like 19. So there's some families that are like, listen, you've graduated university. What are you still doing without a husband, right? So people, the pressure starts at different age. But I actually think as we get older, especially women, we get more selective. So I think there's some things we are more likely to accept maybe when we're 19, 20. Once we hit 30s, that's not flying anymore. Once we hit 35, even more picky. So I think it's the opposite. I don't think people are more likely to settle as they get older. I think things feel more difficult because you're getting wiser. You're getting to know yourself even better. And like I said, you're also building your dream life. So your life, you now have money, you have, a good support system. Your life is pretty awesome that it makes it harder for you to settle for the wrong thing. You've seen, maybe at that point, you've seen some of your friends get into marriages and come out, or, have the wrong things happen to them in marriages. And you're like, I don't want that for myself. So I think as you get older, the you're less likely to settle. But if you keep staying in that limited place, if you keep not opening yourself up, then it looks like your chances of getting married are limited, right? So as you get older, you still have to be intentional with, if you still want that, with meeting more people. There's so many people, there's so many human beings, but in our small circle we're like, oh, everyone's married, oh well, there's no one for me. But like if you took a trip to New York, you might meet a whole new world out there. So I think you have to be more intentional as you get older, but you're less likely to settle.
Pretty good. So there's this famous question: what are we now? I've heard this, people ask this all the time. So should we ask this question, or how to ask this question, and when should we know when to walk away?
Wow, that I hate that question.
It exists. People ask it often. People ask it
People
often.
do. And I think I can only answer in the context of intentional dating. So if you're being intentional, again, you're not asking that question until you see the qualities that you want in a husband, a potential long-term partner, whatever that is, right? You're not asking that question just to be casual. You're not asking that question within a month, what are we, so that you can get in a relationship and figure out what you are. No, this is someone that you've been getting to know for a long time. They've been getting to know you as well. And you feel like it should be progressing towards something more serious, and it's not, right? So that's the only context that I recommend asking this question in. So if you're in that context, it shouldn't be a what are we, again, because at this point it should be clear if you're moving towards something or not. You've met, their support system, they've met yours, the amount of time you spend together, the kind of discussions you have. If marriage or long-term commitment has not come up even one time, I think that's a red flag. But just to like clear your conscience, just so you know, I'm all for asking. It's not really what are we, because you know what you are at that point. You're nothing. You want to know, can we be something, right?
Right.
So I always recommend asking. And I feel like it's usually coming from the women, but sometimes it comes from the men as well. So just getting clarity, just in plain English, being like, again, the attitude matters, the way you approach the conversation matters. Some people come in, they're already frustrated, they're mad, they feel like they've been taken advantage of, or like this person's just playing with their time. So they come in negative, and then the conversation is going to go negatively, right? So just leaving all your preconceived notions at the door, just coming in like, okay, I just want to get clarification. I've just been thinking, I feel like I'm seeing what I want in a future partner in you, and it feels like we're moving towards something more serious, but I'm not sure if you're on the same page as me. So I just wanted to know, right? Something just simple and plain like that. And their response is going to tell you everything you need to know. It's either yes, oh, I thought we were on the same page as well. Maybe I didn't communicate it well, but That's what I'm looking for. These are the steps moving forward. Or no, I thought we were just hanging out. I thought we were just having fun, in which case you run as fast as you can. If you're not looking to have fun, there's no point staying past that, that point. Once they say they're just looking for fun, you're doing yourself a disservice by hanging around if you're not looking for fun.
But then,
And then go
sorry,
ahead.
but then sometimes once you're already deep enough, knee deep in the relationship like that, or whatever you are, it's probably difficult to leave.
That's why I don't recommend getting knee deep until you see what you're looking for. I recommend men and women to rotational date, to date more than one person at a time, to get to know more than one person at a time. And the reason why one person is going to pull your heart more than others is the effort that they are putting in to get to know you, right? So someone that's putting in that effort continually is likely not looking for just fun, right? They likely really want to get to know you for a future. So the point where you should cut off, everyone else that you're seeing is when you're seeing that energy from one person saying, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you more. I want to get to know you more. Okay, I'm seeing what I want in you. They should be the one kind of, pushing it towards commitment and whatever. So before you let go of everything else you have going on, this person has already expressed that interest in moving forward. So on again, I speak from the lady side, because men tend to kind of drive that conversation towards marriage, towards proposals and stuff like that. If you haven't seen that from a man, if he hasn't even given you a clue that you are what he's looking for life, there's no reason to stop getting to know other people. And that's a way to keep yourself from getting way too attached to someone that has not shown you that they are, your person. And then keeping those boundaries. Again, until if it's marriage you're looking for, until there's a ring on your finger, this man does not get unlimited access to your time, to your body, to your heart, right? Once you start giving someone those things, even while you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, that's when it makes it hard to detach if things go wrong. But if you keep those boundaries up, if it turns out they're not the person, it's a lot easier to pull back and keep getting to know the other people that you're getting to know.
Okay, so if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're asking, what are we now? Because I almost feel like you shouldn't have to ask if the communication has been good enough. So if you have to ask that question, should you just pack up your bags and leave at that point and never
I feel like it's always best to get clarity, because sometimes there can be a miscommunication. Men sometimes communicate differently than women. Like I said, there might be, and I have seen some cases where the men were like, I thought this was a done deal. Like I've been introducing you to my mom. What did you think that meant? Obviously we're moving towards marriage, right? But the woman is like, I haven't heard those words, or I haven't seen this or that. That makes me feel like, so there might be a miscommunication there where one person thinks, of course we are, and you're just not getting the vibe. So I say always ask instead of just packing up your bags and leaving. But once you get the answer, be ready to walk away if it's not what you're looking for.
That's good. So there's different terms. There's relationship, there's situationship, and other terms people say. Can you please tell us the difference then between a relationship and a situationship?
For me, a relationship is at the point where you have committed to each other. We are going to get to know each other intentionally towards marriage. Anything else, like I said, does not exist in my book. Situationship, is for this situation, for right now, for wherever I'm at right now. You seem to fit, and that's nice. If the situation changes, you will be out the door, right? So that's not permanent. There's like talking stage, hanging out, then there's dating, all these different things. All those things are just getting to know each other. That's it. Again, up until the point where you have committed yourself to a relationship to work towards marriage, again, you guys are nothing. Especially situationship. That's just the worst one.
I think one of the favorite things you said tonight was you were nothing. if it's nothing serious, then you're nothing. It's like you're the one or the other, right?
You're either like working towards something or you're nothing. So when you say like, what are we? Sometimes the guy's like, what are we?
Right.
We're human beings. That's when you start getting stupid answers.
Right.
We are but mud in the hands of the creator,
Right.
because that's what we are.
Right. So a guy can go on a date or a girl can go on a date, and after a while, they don't hear back from the person they went on a date with, and people have called this ghosting.
Mhm.
How do people avoid ghosting?
You can't, because ghosting depends 100% on the other person, which sucks because you would like to know what happened. In some cases, you think it went great, and then you hear nothing back. So that's one of the things that you just have to accept that comes with dating. It's horrible. It sucks. But some people just don't feel the need to give themselves closure or give someone else closure. So all the closure you need is that that person didn't think you were worth a call, a text, or anything to let you know that they weren't interested. That is enough closure. That is enough information for you to move on. Unfortunately, ghosting is just part of the things we have to deal with during dating.
So you should be waiting for a message back because not hearing back is clearly a message.
That's a huge message.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So in a
Hi,
relationship, go
Aisha.
ahead.
No, I was just saying hi.
All right. So in a relationship, there's like people's standards and there's people's expectations. Is there a difference between standards and expectations, or anything
um,
you can do?
I guess standards are things you shouldn't give on. Standards are your musts. If you are not reaching the standard, you are not the person for me. But your expectations are things that you come into and you believe should happen in a relationship, right? And that might change because everyone is coming in with different expectations for a relationship. Some people believe it's absolutely important that a man open every door and pull out every seat. And some people like me, I don't care. If I'm at the door, I'll just open it. I'm not going to wait for you to come up, run up and open the door. But for some people, that's an expectation that they come into the dating scene with. Like, I expect this man to do this, I expect this woman to do that. And I think you have to be fluid with your expectations, because people are coming from different backgrounds. People are coming with different dating experiences, and their expectations are built on those experiences. So it's up to you to either say, like, this person is worth me letting go of this expectation for, or do I really need this expectation? Does this really contribute to my long-term happiness? Or, again, it's just that it's an expectation. Where did you get this expectation from? Who told you that this was something that you had to have, in a relationship? So really going back to that and getting clear on your why will make the difference clear between an expectation and a standard.
Okay. So in the dating phase, or I want to call it the honeymoon phase, when people are trying to date each other, they have different behaviors that they bring up. Like, for example, you talked about opening the door, for example, and he would run from the gates and come open the door and pull out the seats and all that stuff. And after a while, you start dating, and all of that is gone. And it happens for men, it happens for women as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's what are people doing here? Are they doing too much originally, or should they just be who they are from the beginning and not try and win, and not do the most, and have to change that eventually? Because we start hearing things like, "He don't love me no more. She don't love me no more." So, how do we address this?
So I think everyone puts their best foot forward when they're dating initially. It's like an interview, right? You're not lying, but you're like, you show up in your best suit,
Right.
with your hair done all nice, and you're answering questions in the most polite, positive way that you can. That's still you. That's still who you can be. But after 3 years in the job, you're showing up in whatever you threw on that morning. Your coworker asks you something, you're like, man, leave me alone. I don't. So things just tend to change as you get more familiar. So I think everyone has to be aware that that person is presenting the best part of themselves. And that's why I'm really big on the dating phase, right? Getting to know who the person is. Who the person that shows up on the first date is likely not the person that you're going to get for years and years It's just not possible. I always try to compare it to a job interview because everyone gets that. You've been in an interview and you know the side of you that you're presenting. It's still a part of you, it's a side of you, but that doesn't mean they can expect that from you every single day when you go into the office, when you're happy, when you're sad, your ups and downs, you know?
Right.
So during the dating phase, that's when you assess for character, right? That's when you watch through their actions, through their words. And I have these things I give my clients called qualifying questions, questions that you can ask someone to get them to reveal, you know, how they think, how they see the world, because that's what really matters. At the end of the day, the opening of the door is not what is going to sustain your relationship for years. It is who that person is at the core. So I say leave all the superficial things that might be nice. You might or might not get it. But what matters at the end of the day is who this person is. So assess for character and be aware that a lot of the superficial things will fade.
But the superficial things sometimes is what wins people over originally.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right. Right. So tell us. So tell us. We always talk about, oh, that's a red flag, red flag, red flag. But we rarely talk about green flags in a relationship. So when we're dating in the dating phase, what are some of the green flags we should be looking for?
My main big green flags are great character. That's it, right? And so I always have the ladies kind of sit down and assess their core values, right? What are the things that are most important to you? What values do you live by? Those should be the same values that you're looking for in someone else, or complementary, right? So if you're someone who values transparency and honesty, you know, in a person, you should be looking for that in a partner. And when they show you consistently that they can be honest, that they can be open, that they're, you know, whatever your value list is, then that's a green flag. They're showing you that, hey, my way of life agrees with your way of life. So aside that kind of is very comprehensive. But aside from that, looking for consistency in a person, right? Someone who's getting to know you and who's interested in getting to know you won't message you one day and then not message you for 3 weeks and then send you a "are you up" text, you know, a couple of days later, right? It just doesn't work like that. Someone who's interested in you is going to be consistent in their actions in getting to know you, right? Consistency doesn't mean every day. I say that especially in the beginning, they don't owe you anything. They have a busy life, but you should see the consistency and you should see the increasing consistency, right, as you move towards something. So character and consistency are two big things that I can't. I need Canadian citizens to get married. I was just looking at the comment.
Right.
Yeah, but character and consistency are two big green flags that I tell people to look for in relationships or dating.
It's pretty good. So tell us, so dating coach, why? I just want to know a little bit more about you and why did you become a dating coach? What's your story?
This came out of my experience before I started doing this. So my program was first built on myself. It was me realizing, like, I'm at a point where I've been dating for years. I've even moved. I moved, as you know, from Calgary to Toronto with a mindset of like dating in Calgary is trash. Maybe I'll find what I'm looking for in Toronto. And I came here and I ended up being single for like 2-3 more years. And I was like, okay, so obviously it's not the city, it's me. So I'm an internal auditor and I put on my internal auditor hat because I always do like process improvement work. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing right now that is not getting you towards your goal of marriage, right? What do you need to be doing to get you towards that goal? So I literally sat down and I was like assessing every part of my life. And the things that I talk about now are things that I noticed in myself, you know, having a routine and not stepping out of it, not being open to new people and new experiences, right? So just things like that. And some of the things that I was accepting during the dating phase that I knew would not get me towards marriage, ending up in situationships, you know, not setting boundaries, dating people, dating quote unquote, you know, for years, only to find out that they were not what I was looking for. So I was like, okay, obviously things need to change. And for me, it happened so quickly after I made that change, right? After I made that change, I think in like a year, a year and a half, I was married, right? So my friends that started this journey with me, they were like, "What? We were just together, you know, kind of figuring out our dating lives, and now look at you." And I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what I did. If you want to do the same thing." So starting to see successes that way, I was like, maybe more women need this. Maybe more women would be interested in how to make this change in their dating life. So I just kind of put it out there. I was like, well, this is what I'm doing if anyone's interested. And the response was overwhelming, because I think people are struggling in the modern dating scene. Dating has just changed so much. Like, it's so different, and people are like, I don't even know what to do anymore. So
Yeah.
that's where I come in.
So tell us then about more about what you do as a dating coach in terms of your services.
Yeah, I am the before you start dating coach. I like to think about it that way. So if you're already like in a relationship or whatever, that's not where I come in. I come in at the point where people are just, they figured out that, and most of these people, most of these women, I work with women, are doing great things in the rest of their lives, right? Which is where I was. My job was awesome. I lived in a great place. I was making great money. I had great friends. I was enjoying every single day of my life, but I was like, that thing missing is companionship, right? So those are the kind of people that come to me, and I just help them, like I said, self-improvement for your love life, or process improvement for your love life. I just help them figure out what's wrong, what they could be doing better. And a lot of things have to do with our relationship patterns, the things that we tend to do over and over, the kind of people we tend to be attracted to, that honestly are not serving us in our relationship. So I help them reset, again, figure out what's wrong, and then we create like a step-by-step action plan to move them forward in their dating life. So literally, like, how many times a week they're going to go out, when they go out, what they're going to do, what their goals are, and breaking it down that granular, because that's what I needed. And a lot of people, if you just tell people be more open, nothing's going to change. But if I tell you, next week you're going to go to one networking event and one house party, and while you're there, you're going to connect with 3 different people, men or women, right? Break it down that granular, then they start to see the changes in their life. So I pretty much create a plan to get them from single to committed.
And let's take one question from the audience there, if you have the time. It's about long distance relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you have to be the kind of person that's cut out for them. I think they're not for everyone, honestly. But think about what your love language is and what your partner's love language is. If it's, physical touch is a big one, then long distance relationship is not going to work for you, because you are both going to miss that physical touch, just the hand holding, the hugging, whatever. And then you're going to look for that elsewhere. If both of you happen to not be big on physical touch, then it is still possible, but you have to have a long-term plan. At what point does the distance end? Because you can't date long distance forever. So do you have a plan for moving, or him moving at a certain point? If not, that doesn't seem realistic. I wouldn't recommend it in that point, in that case. But if you have a plan, and physical touch is not one of your love language, definitely doable.
Very good. So tell me, because this dating coach sounds really cool. What is the difference between somebody trying to do this on their own versus getting a coach like you?
I think it's just time, because I spent a lot of time, getting myself together, right? But while I did that, because I have a very analytical mind, I wrote down every process. I wrote down everything I was doing, right? So when I have calls with people, I tell them, I actually give them all the steps. I don't hide it. And you'll see from my Instagram page, you know what I'm thinking, what I think about relationships. The difference is, when you work with me, you get the how, right? So I give you all the steps. If you want, you can do it on your own. It could take you years, it could take you months, you might make mistakes, but having the guidance and support of someone who's literally been there and done it before, to save you that time, is the difference. So I call myself the fast track. You can do it on your own, or you can fast track with me,
Do people have to be in Canada to contact you? Can they contact you from wherever they live?
They can contact me from anywhere. I just like to say that it's a bit of an investment. which, you know, depending on like if it's Naira or something, it can be a little overwhelming. But that's the only barrier, really. They can contact me from anywhere.
Awesome, awesome. Well, everybody, if you're tuning in, follow Okpede Dating Coach. The handle is there. Follow her, message her. Just ask her questions about dating, and she should be able to answer you. So, but this is pretty good. Thank you for taking the time. But I want to know what plans do you have for the future in terms of this dating thing that you do?
I'm actually thinking of creating, because I am getting quite a bit more followers from outside of Canada in the US, which I was not expecting. So I'm currently doing research right now because a lot of my information is geared towards Canadians and US, because that's my experience and that's the experience of the people that I've interviewed. But I want to see, but the thing is, a lot of people that follow me, they tend to come to Canada. So I don't know if I'll keep that the same, but I was looking at things to help people outside of Canada more, and more like self-study courses, because I figure some people are more independent than I was. They just need the information and they can go figure it out on their own. So I'm putting together a lower priced self-study course where they can just get the information and, you know, and not need me, pretty much. So that's what I'm working on in the next couple of months.
Well, somebody in the comments earlier said they want a Canadian partner. And do you do matchmaking services as well? Do you have plans for that in the future?
I did, but it's a little overwhelming. That's what my inbox is right now, is like matchmaking. But matchmaking takes, the way I do it, I want to connect two people that are really like compatible, and to assess that compatibility, it's like me pre-dating them, pretty much, right? So I can connect you to some matchmakers, but I'm not doing that myself yet.
My final question for you is, in your opinion, what's the difference between chemistry and being compatible?
Chemistry is how you feel. You know, you feel like you and this person have chemistry. You're like excited when you're with them. They look at you and you're like, oh, and that is very nice. I call it's enjoyable. But compatibility is what takes you far, because compatibility means we look at life the same way, or our goals are aligned, our values are aligned. That is compatibility. Chemistry usually just comes from personality, right? They have a personality that you enjoy, but they might not be the person that you need long term. So compatibility over chemistry.
Wonderful. Okpede Dating Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us about the dating scene in Canada today. It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot myself, so thank you so much. Do you have any final words for our audience today?
No, thanks for having me. This was actually really cool. And yeah, my inbox is always open. I get a lot of random dating questions, so hit me up in there. And hi, Maggie.
Good. Well, thank you. We hope to talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Have a good day.